the raise in the security level alert by the police yesterday, and also to have a conversation with the Minister of National Security about that press conference which he had yesterday. Minister of National Security and Communications, Stuart Young, he's joining us via phone. Good morning, Minister.
Hi, good morning, TTT. Good morning, Rishi.
Minister, yesterday the police service raised the alert level from amber to red. What does that mean for us?
Okay, the first thing, Rishi, I'd like to point out is that the raising of the security level to red was for the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. So the Commissioner was very careful. At the end of the day, he can raise the alert level within the police service. So in our discussions recently, what we've been looking at, and I've told the Chairman of the National Security Council, what I intend to do is come with a recommendation to the National Security Council that we have security level alerts for the country. What happened yesterday is the Commissioner didn't raise the security level alert for the country, but he raised it within the police service. And what raising the levels mean is you get different resources. The persons know, look, you're expected to be more alert, you're expected to have more officers out, and their effects, their domino effects and consequences of the various levels. So the red level was raised within the police service because the Commissioner knew that he needed his men and women at a certain level and operating at a certain level. Very shortly, in a few months, the country will be told, provided the National Security Council agrees with me, that we're going to introduce a similar system for the country. So, for example, in the recent flooding that took place in the last quarter of last year, that would have allowed whoever is going to be the decision maker, be it the Chairman of the National Security Council, the Minister of National Security Council, to raise the level for specific areas. So for like Greenville, it would have gone to red, St. Helena, other areas after natural disaster, or if there is some threat of terrorist activity, etc. So it's really to allow people to understand this is what is taking place now, but more so the deployment of resources that comes out of the raising of a level of security threat.
Yeah. And you said yesterday that the police service will get the full backing of the Ministry of National Security, and you also told the public that there may be some inconvenience to them.
Absolutely. Sorry, go on.
Yep. How can people assist the police in this regard?
Okay, well, two things. I have continuously been telling the men and women of the police service, once they're acting within the parameters of the law and they're doing their job, they have the full support of the government and of myself as Minister of National Security yesterday morning when I met with not only the heads of our various arms of national security, but divisional commanders as well as the head of specific specialized units. I told them exactly that. I said, listen, we need to change the narrative in Trinidad and Tobago. We need to hit the criminal element hard, and where it hurts, you all have to stop being reactive. We have to go on the offensive and understand that you have my full support as the Minister of National Security. I am prepared to stand in front with you all. I am prepared to be the person to take the licks with you all, etc. But just go out there, be fearless, and do your job within the confines of the law. When it comes to inconvenience, and that I maintain that as my position to close that point off. When it comes to inconvenience, I was very careful to say there will be inconvenience felt by law-abiding citizens in certain areas throughout Trinidad and Tobago as intelligence-driven operations take place. And if that spreads, Commissioner Griffith is going to have a media conference today, and address the nation today at 10 o'clock. And if the police decide to spread it even wider, yes, law-abiding citizens, we as law-abiding citizens may feel levels of inconvenience. And I'm just asking the population, I'm putting them on advance warning. There may be some inconvenience felt as a result of these types of operations. Bear with us and understand at the end of the day, these are being driven to increase the levels of safety and security for law-abiding citizens in Trinidad and Tobago.
You talked about, you'll stand by the police if they take licks. Do you expect there to be a lot of uproar by members of the public with this operation?
No, absolutely not. I think the civic-minded citizens and law-abiding citizens would welcome this new approach. And let me just add, this is not going to be a one-off. This is not something that's being done for cosmetics. We have been sitting planning for months. I told the country I'm not going to have a Minister of National Security who comes out and talks a lot and talks about what is taking place, etc. So we have been sitting planning operations for months. We've been looking at intelligence that has been gathered. Everything now going forward, I've been asking them for months, should be driven by data and by intelligence to utilize our resources in the best possible manner. And that's what you're seeing happening now.
And the use of the anti-gang law is something that you talked about yesterday, and that will help the police officers in carrying out their duties. Yeah. How do you see the public reacting to that? Because there were some concerns about that piece of legislation when it was being debated.
It is the law. It's now the law in the books. The suggestion that the anti-gang legislation has not been used is completely false. There have been a number of charges that are before the courts right now, utilizing the anti-gang legislation. I kept reminding law enforcement over the past few months, and they're very aware of it. This legislation was what they asked for, and it's an excellent piece of legislation for tackling the gang elements in society, because it creates specific offenses, for example, harboring gang leaders, threatening persons who want to leave a gang, intimidating people who may want to leave a gang, and allowing wider powers of search, allowing detention orders. So if you have somebody and you want to go beyond 24 to 48 hours to gather more evidence, to gather more information, you can go to court before a judge, get an order for up to 14 days to allow you to do. These have actually been utilized by Trinidad and Tobago Police Service over the past few months. In a very quiet manner, they have been successful in laying a number of charges. And this type of legislation was designed specifically for the type of activity they've gone out there to challenge and to deal with.
And Carnival is just now. How do you see all of this, everything that is happening now, affecting Carnival celebrations?
I don't see it affecting the Carnival celebrations. I mean, what we're doing is we're trying to make Trinidad and Tobago a safer and a more secure place. Carnival operations and planning for Carnival have also been taking place for months. It started towards November, October last year. And again, Carnival is something that happens on an annual basis. So what I can say is our law enforcement officers and the intelligence officers in the Defence Force are all part, the fire services are all part of the planning for those operations, and I'm very pleased with how it's going so far. So I don't see these specific operations you've seen take place in the last 24 hours having any negative effect or outfall on Carnival, but it is something we will monitor.
We talked extensively about the use of police officers, but the members of the Defence Force will also be used as well in operations?
Absolutely. I had the Defence Force, the Chief of Defence Staff, and some of his officers in the meeting yesterday morning, but they've also been participating. Every week I meet with the heads of security, and we have these matters on our agenda. So yes, the Defence Force is playing a supporting role to the police service in these operations, and I want these operations to be over a sustained period of time, not one-off exercises or exercises that disappear within a matter of days or weeks, but rather to be sustained. The only way we're going to get a proper push on the criminal element in society is if we do it over a sustained period of time.
And we have the necessary resources to sustain activities like these?
We will make do with what we have, and if extra resources are requested and they can be afforded, etc., we will do what we can to provide it. But yes, at this stage, there is no shortage of resources for these operations.
All right. Thank you very much, Minister of National Security and Communications, Stuart Young, for joining us this morning and telling us about some of the initiatives being taken by the police service and, of course, the Ministry of National Security across Trinidad and Tobago, as they say, to make Trinidad and Tobago a safer place for all.